The Supreme Court took Coach Joe Kennedy's case, and now the clock is ticking. If you ever wondered what it takes to go there and win, you've come to the right place. Hi, I'm Stuart Shepard, and this is First Liberty Live. You know, these videos get shared a lot of places, but if you want to see all of them in one place, you should go to firstlibertylive.com. You may already be there now, but if you're watching this somewhere else, that's where you can find all of them gathered together. You can watch them right as we stream them out live every Thursday, and you can also catch up on other episodes from the past. That's firstlibertylive.com. Hiram Sasser is Executive General Counsel at First Liberty Institute. Hi, Hiram.
Hey, hi. Thanks.
We're going to talk about Joe Kennedy. He's here. You know, the field is not actually at the Supreme Court, but this gives you an idea what he's up against. It's just one guy against the biggest court in the land, and we want to talk about the process for that. It seems strange to say this, but this is now kind of a familiar experience for us here at First Liberty. How many times has the organization been to the Supreme Court?
Well, we've handled, this is going to be our 8th matter now that's going to be handled at the Supreme Court. And, you know, sometimes they have the full argument, and sometimes they've just handed us the win without having to have an argument. So yeah. We've had all the different experiences.
Now, we're going to do a live episode. Our plan is to be live at the steps of the Supreme Court. And this session, because of COVID, they're letting people listen to the court audio live as it happens. So we're going to bring people into the courtroom that way. So we'll do a little intro a few minutes before and then let people listen to the arguments. The voice they'll be hearing from our side representing Coach Joe is Paul Clement. Tell us a little bit about him.
Well, Paul Clement has argued more cases in front of the Supreme Court than any other person that's in private practice right now, well, in the world.
Yeah.
And really, he ranks as one of the top appellate Supreme Court advocates in the history of the United States. So he's essentially the Michael Jordan of lawyers.
and to put it in perspective, I mean, if an attorney gets to argue once at the Supreme Court, that is a lifetime resume item. Paul Clement has been there more than 100 times?
Over 100 times.
Which is astonishing. I mean, I've heard him when he's in the audio, when he's in front of the court, and it's like he's just talking to old friends, hanging out up there.
Yeah, I mean, he's done a great job for a lot of really big clients over the years, and the fact that he was willing to join our team and help us get to the Supreme Court has been a real blessing.
Yeah, and we often talk about how here at First Liberty, I mean, we have a staff of attorneys that specialize in this, but we have a nationwide network of volunteer attorneys. We talk about bringing top-tier representation. There is no way in the world that Joe Kennedy ever would have gotten Paul Clement had he not been connected with First Liberty, and then we connected him to Paul.
Yeah, I mean, that's right. I mean, we really kind of build a pretty good litigation machine with us, and then our local counsel that we had with Jeff Helsden. We've had other lawyers that have gone that have represented Coach Kennedy along the way, and so including who's now a sitting federal judge, Jim Ho. He's on the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals. He was also, before he had to leave the case to go to the bench, he was on the case as well.
Yeah, which is just astonishing. We see all the names that are on that list. He'll be up front, but this is a total team effort. All hands on deck. What's happening right now as we're prepping for that day at the courthouse?
Well, what's happening right now is that we're in the process of drafting the first brief, the brief on the merits. And also organizing all the Friends of Courts, the amicus briefs, the Friend of the Court briefs, yeah, that will be filed to support our case.
Let me have you translate there. So a brief on the merits is?
That's the brief saying this is how we think we should win, and it's very robust. It's obviously very important. And then the other side has an opportunity to respond to that, and then we have a reply brief.
And then the amicus briefs are from people outside of the case wanting to have a voice in it.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And we anticipate there may be 40 of those filed in our favor in this case.
And that'll be interesting. I think what a lot of people don't realize is most of the argument at the Supreme Court all happens before the first word is ever spoken. I mean, those briefs are everything. That's where the real argument is made, and that's what the justices are thinking about when they show up that day.
Yeah, the argument really ends up being a conversation between really the justices talking amongst themselves, using the advocates at the podium as sort of a backboard, if you will, and they're because they show up having read everything, very prepared, and they're starting their debate process, but bouncing those through questions of the person who's at the podium.
Yeah, and that is a focal point that most human beings can't even begin to appreciate what it's like to have 9 justices staring you down like that. Nobody just shows up at the court and says, hey, I'm here, got any questions? There's a lot of preparation that goes into it. Describe for me that process to get the attorney who's up front prepped for that day.
Well, what's interesting about Paul is that most lawyers are going to argue the Supreme Court. If they're going to argue a case, that's obviously the only one they're arguing that term.
Yeah, not him.
I think Paul's got a couple of them that he's going to be arguing here, relatively close to each other.
Yeah.
But the preparation is really the same. It's hundreds of hours of preparation just for the oral argument, independent of the writing of the brief, and then doing several practice runs with groups of lawyers, acting as the justices, asking questions. So it's extremely rehearsed. It's extremely well prepared, and just a lot of work goes into it.
I want to unpack that just a little bit to give people a mental picture of what that's like. And you hit on it there, but you've been in some of these. Describe for me what that scene is like when you've got 9 people playing Supreme Court justices and the attorney up there. What's it actually like to be in there moment by moment?
Well, in terms of the preparation, most of the preparation practice arguments go significantly longer than the actual argument. They'll go for a couple of hours, maybe 3 hours sometimes. Yeah. Whereas, the actual argument, each side only gets about a half hour. And it depends on, other people cut into the time. But for the most part, you're looking at about a half hour each side. And so there's so much there's preparation for hours of debate that gets condensed down into about 30 minutes.
Yeah, and when people listen to the arguments, you often hear it sounds like they're speaking in shorthand in some sections because they're referencing other cases and talking about things. And that's because the Supreme Court justices are so familiar with this material, and the attorneys on both sides, frankly, have really prepped for this and have all these arguments spinning around in their head all at the same time.
Yeah, what's amazing about Paul is that he shows up to the podium with no notes. It's just him. He just walks up and he's ready to go, and he'll get asked questions. I've seen him in arguments before. He gets asked a question and he'll say, well, on page 1452 of the record, it says the following thing. And that answers your question, Your Honor. And so that's just really an amazing ability that, very few people have that.
Yeah, it takes a special clarity of mind. This has been a long road, years in the making for Coach Kennedy. How's he doing?
Well, Coach is doing well, but it's been almost as many years since the last time he was a football coach as he spent being a football coach. So we're really deep into this fight. Again, this all started back in the fall of 2015.
Yeah.
He's ready. So if we can win this case, then this fall, Coach will be on the field.
And I want to be clear about something, because people often ask when I'm out and people ask about these cases, what is Coach Joe suing for? I want to make that clear, because a lot of people think he's suing probably $1 million, $500,000.
No.
What's he suing for?
We've only asked for one thing, which is for him to be reinstated as a coach, just so that he can go on the field.
Because this is principle. This is all about principle. And explain for us in a summary form what that principle is that is being presented to the court that they're going to be considering, and how that could impact the country.
Sure. It's essentially, he's fighting for the right to be able to pray by himself at the 50-yard line after a game, silently for about 15 to 30 seconds. Just take a knee, and if you didn't know what he was doing, you might think he's tying a shoe.
That's the essence of the case for Joe, but it has an impact that could go way beyond that. This could impact a lot of other people besides just Joe Kennedy.
Well, this case, it'll have a significant impact, obviously, on his life, but also on all teachers and coaches in public education across the country. To have the right to be able to maybe say a short prayer, to maybe wear something like a cross necklace or something of that nature without being discriminated against.
Yeah.
For the very first time, without having to hide their faith, but not just to be able to pray where maybe someone sees you, you're not praying for the purpose of someone seeing you, but just if they happen to see you, they're being discriminated against, and they're being told that we can't even see you. It's as if it's like toxic to view someone who happens to maybe pray over their lunch or something like that. And then also for every government employee across the country, it will clarify their right to be able to engage in their religious activity of perhaps praying without having to worry about hiding in a closet. So, the last time that most people are kind of familiar with this that might be familiar with the Old Testament, Daniel getting thrown in the lion's den because someone saw him pray.
Yeah.
He wasn't intending for anyone to see him, but they happened to. And we're just fighting for the Daniels.
We only get to do this because of the support of so many people. As you mentioned, Coach Kennedy's not suing for money. He's just suing for his job back. He won't get a bill from us, and the only way we're able to do that is because of so many people who feel as strongly about this as we do. I want to give you a chance just to say thanks to them, just to look in the camera and express your gratitude for what we get to do.
Well, we thank you, everybody. We essentially only are the just sort of the conduits that make things happen. It's the people who support us, who really are carrying Coach Joe on their shoulders, and have carried him from essentially this, almost obscure football field in one of the most northern points in the United States, other than Alaska, and carrying him on their shoulders to the Supreme Court. Yeah. And there's just no way we could do it if we weren't all as a team together.
Our theme this year is First in the Fight Together, and his story captures that perfectly because he's not alone. I mean, and he expressed to me one time, we were at the field chatting, and he said, if it wasn't for you guys, I would have been just another guy who got fired. Well, he was talking to me when he said you guys, but it really is not just us, but it's everybody who supports the work of First Liberty. All together, we've made sure that he's not just another guy who got fired.
No, that's exactly right. And, it's been a tough fight. I mean, we've had to go all the way through the court system to the Supreme Court the first time. Yeah. Then had to go back all the way down again, go through all the discovery, all the process of the district court, then go to the Ninth Circuit again, and then go to the Ninth Circuit en banc, and then go back up to the Supreme Court. So it's been a journey. It's
been a long road. Hiram, anything else you want to share before I let you go?
I mean, I think that's it. Again, this case is just about Coach wanting to take a knee, pray silently by himself for 15 to 30 seconds. Yeah. And for so far, we've faced extreme resistance to that small ask. Yeah.
Well, we are proud of the work that you do and the entire legal team here at First Liberty. Just know there's a lot of people cheering for you. We'll be watching this one.
Well, thanks for having us.
All right. Hey, this has been a long, difficult road for Coach Kennedy, as Hiram just mentioned. He got fired. He's been fighting this legal battle for years. It takes a toll on a family. It takes a toll on an individual. If you'd like to send a note of encouragement to him, we have a special page set up on our website where you can do that. You can sign a letter of encouragement that's already written, but there's also a spot on there where you can add a personal note if you like. It's located at firstliberty.org/Coach Joe. And just look for the blue button on that page that says Join Team Kennedy, and you can send your own note to Joe and let him know that you're on his team and cheering for him. We will have regular updates on this case, of course, as it progresses, as we prepare for the big day in court, and we will see you next time right here on First Liberty Live.